Good morning, grade 10s. Mr. Broadbent here. Today we're just going to do a little video review for multiple choice and short answer questions on the literacy test. Before we get right into it, I'm going to start with a joke or two. What do you call a fake noodle? Well, that of course would be an impasta. I know, I'm sure you find this very amusing. And one more pun, just in case. Feel free to pause and explain the jokes. It's funnier if you get them. Now that that's out of the way, the goals for today, just review some of the strategies for reading on the OSSLT. We're going to review some strategies for multiple choice questions. Remember, they're the big ones. And review some strategies for the short answer questions on the literacy test. I know I've talked about this before, but just remember the multiple choice questions, almost half the literacy test. Each question is worth just over 1%, so it's very important that you spend the time on those multiple choice questions, really do a good job, and use some of the strategies that we're going to talk about today. Before we get into strategies, just remember this is the sheet that you'll record your multiple choice answers. You'll record your answers on this sheet. You can circle them in the booklet, but they won't receive a score unless they're circled on this sheet. Something else on this sheet, it's also very important that you print your name on this first line and that you sign your name on this second line. Okay, if you don't sign it, it doesn't count. So make sure that you print your name and sign it here. Also, these bubbles here, they're for the student questionnaire. At the end of booklet 2, they ask you several questions about what sort of things do you like to read, how often do you like to read. You're encouraged to do those questions. It provides useful information for people like me. They're not for marks. If you don't have time, don't do them. Okay, but you're very much encouraged to do them. It's also very important that when you fill out those questions, make sure that you fill the bubbles in completely like this. It's a computer that reads your scores, so if the bubble's not filled in, if it's half filled in, the computer will not read it. If you change your multiple choice answer, erase the incorrect one or cross it out. Okay, either way, they want you to make sure that your final answer is clear on there. So it should be filled in all the way. If you filled in one and change your mind, put a big X through it. Okay, and they will know that the one without the X through it is your choice. These are the 5 different kinds of reading that you'll do on the literacy test. You will read a newspaper report. You'll write one as well, but you'll read one. You'll read a dialogue, which is a conversation between two people. You'll read a real-life narrative, which is somebody's sort of their own personal story. Some kind of graphic text. It'll have just as many pictures as words, or graphs or things like that. And there'll be an information paragraph, so something similar to what you might read in a textbook. So it doesn't matter what kind of reading you're going to do on the literacy test. The strategies we're going to look at today are going to be helpful for all those kinds of readings. So when you first approach a text, you're going to want to do a number of pre-reading strategies. I've listed a few of them here. First, you're going to skim the text. You're just going to sort of get a sense for it, see how long it is, really just see what kind of text it is. You're just sort of getting a feel for it. You're also going to want to look at the text features. So look at the title, look at the picture, look at this little bit at the bottom here. This says where they got the text from. They have to say that on the literacy test, where they got it from. Read that feature. It might be helpful for some questions. You're going to want to make some predictions, maybe activate your background knowledge. For instance, high school starts at 10. Hey, that sounds like a great idea to me. I know I've heard some things saying that it's probably better for learning if high school starts a little later. So use those pre-reading strategies before you get into it. Don't forget to do that because it's going to help frame your reading and make your comprehension that much better. As you read through a text, you're going to want to use a number of different strategies. You're going to want to read with purpose. For instance, I don't recommend that you read the questions beforehand. This reading has 7 questions about it. If I do that, that means I have 7 things I'm looking for. Really the purpose for the first time I'm reading through this is just to get a sense of what the piece says. So I'm just reading it to understand it right now. You're going to want to highlight and underline things as you go, especially those specific details. This question has a short answer, or this reading has a short answer question, and I know they want specific details. The proof in my answer proof explain, my APE response. I'm going to make connections, which is going to help me understand it a little better. I'm going to slow down at parts, especially parts that maybe are just a little bit trickier or maybe unfamiliar words. And I'm going to reread. That's the single most powerful strategy. Reread. Go back and reread something. It'll help you make more meaning of it. So now I'm going to read part of this text, and every once in a while I'll stop just to sort of make my thinking visible, sort of look at some of these strategies. So this high school starts at 10 a.m. In September 2009, a Toronto high school started classes an hour later than usual as part of a project to determine if extra sleep improves student attendance and grades. Interesting. Research shows teens' brains are wired to go to bed late and get up late. I know I've read something about that, and boy, I know when I was a teenager, I had a hard time getting up early. At puberty, the chemical that induces sleep is secreted around 11 p.m. and shuts off around 8 a.m. Studies have shown that about 3/4 of teens don't get their necessary 8.5 to 9 hours of sleep per night. Highlighting those things, those sound like important details that might be useful in a short answer question, or they might talk about them in a question. The school found that punctuality, attendance, and grades and credits earned were the worst in first period classes, which started around 8:50 a.m. Wow, 8:50. We're partway through period 1 by then. Teachers said many students came to class too tired to learn. Some schools that have experimented with a later schedule report less student depression, fewer dropouts, better test scores, and higher grades. The principal has heard positive reviews from staff and students, saying enrollment is up because of the new hours. He knows critics will say the new timetable coddles lazy teens and doesn't reflect the real world, but he points out that not everyone starts work at 9 a.m. There's a biological need for it, he says. So it sounds to me like it seems to show that starting school later seems to be pretty beneficial for the school, even though not everybody agrees with it. Now we're going to go through a multiple choice question together, but before we do that, I like to say that the multiple choice questions on the literacy test, they're sort of like the traffic cops of reading. I know sometimes some groups I've told people that I get a speeding ticket every once in a while, but it doesn't mean I'm a bad driver. Usually when I get a speeding ticket, I miss when it changes from like a 90 to an 80, or something like that, or there's maybe a really good song on the radio on a Sunday afternoon. There's nobody else around. It doesn't mean I'm a bad driver. It just means every once in a while I can be a lazy driver. Just like with reading, these questions are designed to catch lazy readers. So it doesn't mean you're a bad reader if you get them wrong. It just means you need to focus more closely, because each one of these questions is over 1% of the test, so you want to make sure you do a good job on them. So we want to use a couple of different strategies when we get into the multiple choice questions. Treat them seriously. Make sure you spend time on them. We want to scan the text for where in the text we want to go back to. Okay, I can't do all the readings on the multiple choice questions and get all of them right without going back to the text. Okay, it's impossible. I just don't remember everything that I read, and I can't make educated yeses every time without going back and rereading the text. So scan the text for the part that the question asks about. Sometimes they say in paragraph 5 or in line 7, go back to that part, but sometimes you might need to go back to parts that aren't just that part. So just be aware of that. You want to eliminate the incorrect answers, okay? It's sort of like detective work, sort of like playing Clue. All the answers are there. The right answer is right in front of you. You just need to make sure you eliminate the incorrect ones to get to it. And you want to make inferences, okay? Don't be afraid to use your background knowledge to add to those clues in the text to draw an inference, a reasonable conclusion, something the author is implying in the text. So, question 2. Which word is closest in meaning to coddles, as used in paragraph 4? Ignores, interests, pampers, punishes. In the text, we go back, we reread that part. Paragraph 5. He knows critics will say that the new timetable coddles lazy teens and doesn't reflect the real world, but he points out that not everyone starts work at 9 a.m. There's a biological need for it. So I go to the questions. Does this new timetable ignore lazy teens? I don't really think so, because it's really for teenagers who need the extra rest. So it's really not it's not F. So I'm going to cross that one out. Interests lazy teens? Yeah, it probably would interest lazy teens. Teens who, well, lazy is such a pejorative word. I don't mean to sound like you're all lazy teenagers, but that's just what it says. It's possible it's interest lazy teens. Pampers lazy teens, possible as well. And does it punish lazy teens? Well, no, it doesn't punish lazy teens because they get extra sleep, so it actually more rewards them. So punishes is incorrect there. So what we've got left, just going back and rereading, really thinking about it, we're down to 2 answers. So to really decide which of these 2 is most correct, really go back, reread the text. So I'm going to go back and reread this part a 3rd time now. The principal knows critics will say the new timetable coddles lazy teens and doesn't reflect the real world. Okay, those are clues in there, saying that critics say this. So people who are against teenagers coming to school later, and this doesn't reflect the real world. Again, the people who are against this. So would people who are against this say that it interests them? They might. Would people who are against this say that it pampers them? If you're not sure what the word pampers means, try to use some strategies to help sort of figure it out. For instance, if you think pampers, you probably think pampers like diapers. When you pamper a baby with pampers, you're sort of giving them excessive care. That's really what pampers means. So really, pampers is the most correct word. Most correct answer there. It interests them, but remember, these are critics, so they're saying that it treats teens with excessive care. Even you can also look at the word coddles. It sounds sort of like cuddles to me, right? Which really is sort of that same meaning. So I know this was sort of a long video, but I just want to go back and see that we looked at everything we needed to do. So we reviewed some strategies for reading on the literacy test. The pre-reading strategies, pay attention to those text features, skim the document, get a sense of it, then use strategies to help you make meaning, like make connections, highlight for specific details, go back and reread the text. It's so important. We looked at some strategies for multiple choice questions, process of elimination, going back to reread the text, really thinking very carefully. Okay, each one is worth just over 1% of the test. I know at the beginning I said we'd look at short answer questions. I was originally planning to do one, but we're running out of time, so I'll save that one for another video. It's just really important that you really do these things. It's really important to listen to what I say about the literacy test. Because when we're talking about the literacy test, I know because I have the necessary qualifications. Alright, thanks everyone. Good luck on Thursday. I almost forgot, if you'd like to rewatch this video or watch any of the other videos, you can find them at this link. All right, thanks. Good luck.